Hello and welcome to today's edition of NC Exclusive. In this edition, we shall be speaking to a former governor of Akwa Ibom State who ran the state from 1999 to 2007. This governor was also a member of the Board of Trustees of the then ruling People's Democratic Party. We're speaking about none other than His Excellency Obong Victor Attah. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us on this interview.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, we're going to start by reflecting, first of all, on your tenure as governor. What achievements would you say you are most proud of, particularly in relation to infrastructure development and attracting foreign investments?
Well, you're taking me back quite a few years, so if my memory is missing certain points, you will excuse me. But achievements, I think you know that some of the things for which Akwa Ibom is known today are those landmark things that I did, one of them being the five-star hotel and the golf course. There's an effort now to put that golf tournament, which is annually played on my birthday incidentally, on the golf calendar so that there'll be foreign tourists coming in to play golf in Nigeria. That'll be quite an achievement. The airport is another major achievement. And what else? The power plants. But the few others, sometimes I remember Akwa Ibom more with regrets for things that didn't happen than even for the things that happened. For instance, the science park that I started, which was discontinued, and now some of the buildings that we started are now in ruins. The seaport that I initiated, which has not been built. The University of Technology, which has been discontinued, and a few others. Actually, yes, talking about those things, let me just mention another one. Because I've seen recently in Abuja, where I live, billboards going up advertising solar water heaters. There was a factory in Akwa Ibom producing solar water heaters. My government collaborated with the government of Barbados in the West Indies and built a factory that produces water heaters. We were actually producing and selling water heaters. But my successor came, shut the factory down for other reason. And so a few things like that just break my heart because I saw Akwa Ibom as being, if you like, way up there, leading in several areas. Even from the point of view of the master plan. How many towns have got master plans that they follow? But thank God, we had a very forward-looking military administrator at the time the state was created. And he commissioned my firm. I had no idea at that time that I was going to be a governor or would become a governor in future and have to administer that plan. But he commissioned my firm, Interdesign Partnership, to prepare a master plan for the city of Uyo and also a regional plan for the entire state. So that was very forward-looking. And that is being followed religiously, which pleases me a lot. There was one distortion which almost caused a disaster. Also, I can talk about that if you want me to later on. But otherwise, I'm well satisfied that I put in my best effort. As was said the other day at my Thanksgiving service, that I collaborated and cooperated with God's grace to do His will for Akwa Ibom people. And I'm glad I was able to do that. The failures, well, those are human failures, but more than failures, they're more a matter of lack of continuity rather than failures.
Okay, sir. Now, Your Excellency, we've spoken about the past. Let's come to the current day now. How do you assess the current state of the infrastructure, whether the ones you started or the ones that have now been put in place, especially in areas like telecommunications, power supply, particularly air transportation in Akwa Ibom today, compared to the vision that you had when you were in office?
You may remind me of some of those things as we go, but let me start with the ones that I remember. Telecommunications, there's been no improvement beyond what we did. You know, we were one of the 3 state governments that invested heavily in Econet. And in fact, while Lagos State and Delta State, where we are speaking from, invested 10%, Akwa Ibom invested 15%. And we became, therefore, the 3rd town in Nigeria to have a rollout of the GSM system. And when you know that before then, we used to travel to Calabar. Calabar was the only place where they had international telephone exchange. And the sad thing about it is that when you get there, you could only do business with the part of the world that are the same working and daylight hours as you. Because you couldn't be talking to people while they are sleeping somewhere. But with the GSM, you can reach any part of the world anytime at your convenience and convenience to them. So we saw a great opportunity and we invested, and believe me, it turned out to be a gold mine, because it is out of the shares that we bought in that Econet system that we are able to do a lot of the things that we did. You know the history of Akwa Ibom State, I'm sure you do. When the president seized all the money that belonged to Akwa Ibom, declared us a non-oil producing state. But we sold those shares, and still need to try to remember, I think we spent $47.5 million US, which we borrowed, every red cent of it. But at the time we sold about $200 million. And so we were able to build a power plant, we were able to complete the airport, we were able to do a number of other things, and even start the science park. And we trained quite a lot of people in information technology, and none of them have come back, because we never completed the science park. So I've talked about telecommunication, of the man and power. The power is the most disappointing thing also, because recently I had occasion to talk about Akwa Ibom and my vision. And I said I used to have conversations with the then governor of Lagos State, who today is our president, thank God. And I used to say to him, look, Lagos is what it is because of its airport, because of its seaports, and because of industrial estates. Akwa Ibom was going to have an airport with an added amenity called the MRO, Maintenance, Repair and Overhaul Facility. So we're going to be the maintenance hub for Nigeria. And we're going to have perhaps only one seaport at the Baka, but it was going to be the best in the world, among the best in the world, because for years, Antwerp was known as the seaport of Europe until Zeebrugge was built. So the consultants that designed Zeebrugge are the consultants that are brought to design the seaport in the Baka. But till today, even though we paid half the consultancy fees, couldn't pay all of it by the time I left office, but that's no reason why we can't continue and complete the seaport. It hasn't been completed, so we don't have a seaport. And then when it comes to industrial estates, I told him, I'm sure, even if we didn't have industrial estates at the time that I was in government, there would be. But our added advantage would be that we will have 24-hour constant power. Because you cannot think of the 20th, 21st century without power. And anybody that attempts to do that must be living in the past. So I built that power plant. I remember the little history about that power plant. At the time I built the power plant, Akwa Ibom was consuming 40 megawatt of power, 40. So I went to His Excellency, he was minister then, Lele Moke, who was the minister for power, and said, I want to build a 60 megawatt power station. No, Governor, you don't do that. I said, what? Why should I not do that? I said, you are consuming 40 because there's something called suppressed demand. If more power was available to you, you certainly would consume a lot more. So don't think in terms of 60. So I said, at least make it 100 megawatts. So I actually ended up building 191 megawatt of power, with the position from the federal government. I emphasize this because if Akwa Ibom and any other state in this country had cooperation from the federal government, Nigeria would not be where it is today. The federal government just felt, because for whatever reason, let me try to give the reason, just felt that they had to control everything. Control power, control telecom, control police, control resources, control everything. And so there was no progress. We just became, as it were, we reduced to being vassals of the federal government. That is not a federal arrangement. Certainly not the federal arrangement that was agreed to in 1960 when we had independence. But the federal government, in spite of the opposition and resistance for the federal government, are managed to build 191 megawatt power plant sitting there. Just before I completed it, the federal government came out with what I consider the most ridiculous, most backward, most whatever word you like to use against that power, because if you generate, you cannot transmit, you cannot distribute. So what is the point? I argued, I said, listen, I have something sitting in my backyard called a generator. The actual name is generator. Why do you allow me to generate power from that thing and distribute to my house? Why don't, since I cannot generate and distribute, why don't I sell the power from my generator to the national grid? That's how ridiculous it is. I studied logic. And one of the things you do in logic is this reductio ad absurdum. Reduce an argument to its absurd limit, and then you will test its veracity. I reduce it to that kind of ridiculous extent. So you want me to generate power from my generator, put it in the national grid before I can use it in my house? Otherwise, if I build a larger plant, why can't I distribute to a larger thing than my house, maybe a community? If I build a much larger plant, why can't I distribute to my state? Believe me, sitting here today, I know I am convinced and I know I'm correct. If Akwa Ibom had been allowed to proceed along the lines I wanted to go and distribute that power to Akwa Ibom and boast, as we wanted to boast, that we are the first state in Nigeria to ensure and guarantee 24-hour constant power, several other states would have joined. The power situation in Nigeria wouldn't be what it is today. So that is power. What was the second one?
And the last one was air transportation.
Air transportation, I talked about the airport. When I built that airport, I said, you know, the land for that airport is larger than Ikeja Airport land. It is. Because I had in mind to do that MRO, that maintenance, repair and overall facility. And I was told, again, I always try to go for the best. The designers and project managers for that airport were the same company that maintains Air Force One, which is the presidential fleet of America. The company was called DynCorp. They have since been bought out by somebody else. And they designed the airport and told me that a disabled aircraft coming for maintenance must be able to land. You cannot say you are fixing the wrong way or there was an accident, therefore you cannot land. So, for you to truly be an MRO airport, you need to have 2 parallel runways, separated by 1.5 kilometers of empty land, because that's supposed to be the accident distance of an aircraft. So, we had to acquire a large piece of land, which I say is larger than the Ikeja airport land, designed the whole thing, started the building of the MRO, but I had no intention or no concept that I would have an airline. So I thank Obong Emmanuel, immediate past governor, for starting that airline. He did a great job, and it's one of the most successful airlines in Nigeria today.
You're talking about Ibom Airline.
Ibom Air.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic, you know. So mine was just to create the facility and the amenities there, but mostly to do more than just carry passengers. I wanted to have that maintenance hub. So, but I thank Obong Emmanuel for establishing the airline, nothing. But you know, I trained a lot of people in maintenance of an airport. And somebody asked me, do you intend to run an airline? I said, no. I have absolutely intention of it. But whoever is going to manage this airport is going to need apron managers, light managers, firefighters, all the things you need, and cargo managers, everything. So I train them. I said, I don't want a situation in which the person comes and wants to employ people and puts out an advert, nobody responds from Akwa Ibom. So let there be a pool of Akwa Ibom people trained in that area, because once there's an airport, those facilities will be operational and they'll need people. So I trained them and they came and they're very useful today. And they are there, and I'm very happy that that is the case.
All right, sir. Now, clearly, of course, even with all of this, every administration has its challenges. And you have already mentioned some that you were encountered with coming from the federal government. Now, plus that and others, what exactly were the major challenges that you would say your administration faced or that you faced during your tenure? And do you think that some of these challenges have adequately been addressed today?
Well, it's very difficult to define challenge in the sense that you're asking me, but there's always a challenge from people who do not fully understand what you are, or what you have in mind, or what you intend. There were people who actually opposed that airport, but today they want to worship me because the road to Calabar is impossible. And yeah, maybe, I don't know, God just inspired me. I could see difficulties, but it wasn't just, as I said, just for passenger, but mostly for the maintenance and the employment and the service that it would offer. So even the economic thing I'm talking about, there was a man who was so strident in his attack, and we had one phone to his ear talking, another one in his hand, still abusing me for putting money in Econet. And I said, look at him, I always refer to that picture. He's abusing, I'm trying to make it easy for him, and he's abusing, but even to go into Econet, I had challenges. And the hotel again, I actually have a letter from my president then, accusing me of not using Akwa Ibom people's money properly. Why would I want to put Akwa Ibom people's money in a hotel? But that is the one thing that Akwa Ibom is known for today, because that golf course is one of the best in Africa.
So now you made efforts during your tenure to attract foreign investors and several investments, like you clearly mentioned. What advice would you give the current leadership now of fostering sustainable investment, particularly for economic growth in Akwa Ibom State?
First of all, you have to attract the investment, then you have to sustain it. I lived in the north for quite a few years and observed the working of NNDC, New Nigeria Development Corporation. They were able to develop the entire north from. So I learned a lesson from that. When I went to Akwa Ibom to be governor, I established some, and then of course later on came NIPC, Nigerian Investment Promotion Council, along with something at the federal level. I combined the two because in the state you don't need both of them. I combined the two and started something called AKIPOC, Akwa Ibom Industrial Investment Promotion Council. That council, very able people, it was headed by Professor Akwa, former Vice Chancellor of University and one of the foremost economists today. And he became the, what is it called, West African Institute for Finance. Anyway, was heading that institution, which is like the West African Central Bank, if you like. Those are the two people that I had in AKIPOC. And that they were able to define the projects, look for the possible investors, negotiate the terms and conditions, and then bring in the investment. And my responsibility, I saw my major responsibility as making sure that there is peace, that there is security. And people say it, and you think it is funny that money is afraid of trouble. Money will never go where there is trouble. It will run. You have to be sure that it is secure and it has a comfortable bed to lie on before it would come. So the governments must make sure that they maintain peace, that the security in the land. And this security, I really must express I don't know how to put it. I'm so upset about it. Look at this NYAC, such a very good idea, such a fantastic idea to try and integrate this country. But people suffer, spend money to give their children education, and they are going for NYAC, and they are captured in Zamfara. 4 months now. How many of those children? Nobody has done anything about releasing them. And you expect that Akwa Ibom will continue to allow children to be exposed like that? Maybe NYC, like everything else, we are just falling apart. So I don't know. I feel very upset about this. That 4 months later, those children cannot be released from bandits. If we don't do something drastic, I mean truly drastic, to bring an end to this banditry and kidnapping and so on, believe me, Nigeria will begin to fall apart. Nobody will want to go anywhere.
Speaking about Nigeria and leadership and taking charge of insecurity and other things. Now we're considering that your brief presidential nomination run in 2007. Back then, looking back, what are your thoughts on the current political landscape now in Nigeria and the role of regional leadership in national politics?
There is no regional leadership because we are still running a central government that controls everything. So where's the regional leadership? Where's the regional government? Everybody, even INEC, you quarrel about elections, you quarrel about everything because everything is so centralized, so controlled. That is not a federal arrangement. And thank God the present government, the present governor knows it because we suffered what I suffered. The president sees his local government money because he had no business creating local government. He's changing local to development areas. He sees my own money. He just sees everything because center must control everything. It is wrong. You have to allow the kind of freedom that the federating units always had for them to be able to develop. It's the only condition under which there will be productivity as opposed to sharing. We're always sharing revenue. Where is the revenue coming from? We have not been able to hit 2 million barrels a day from the time we started. We've been staying at 1.7, 1.8, even when our population was much more. Let me exaggerate again. When our population was 100 million, we're sharing money from 1.7 million barrels a day. Now our population is 200 million. We are still sharing money from 1.8 million barrels. How can it go round? And on top of that, nobody is able to go to the farm. Because if you go to the farm, they kidnap your wife, kidnap your daughters, kill you. So people are not farming. Even when we're able to go to the farm, because of the attraction of the cities, because we don't give even potable water, we don't give light, we don't give anything to the rural areas, people are not, the young ones don't want, would you want to live in a rural area again? So many young people don't want to live in the rural areas, they all move to the town. So we used to have maybe 10 people feeding, I don't know how many people in the city at a time. It reduced down to 5 people feeding the same number of people in the city. Now it's about 2 people trying to feed that number in the, how can they succeed? Coming directly back to your question, let us establish a federal system. If we establish a federal system, allow the federating units to compete among themselves with what resources they have, pay what salaries they can afford.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now, as we gradually come to the end of this interview session, how do you envision the future of Akwa Ibom State, and what role do you see yourself playing in the continued development of the state?
Well, there was a time that my opinion was not needed in the state, and I can't force myself, I couldn't force myself on anybody, but it's different now. The present governor contacts me regularly, asks me questions and so on, and I'm quite happy to offer my opinion on matters, even where sometimes not even asked for. I have the opportunity, I'll put in my own 2 cents, tell him what I think about certain things. So you can only play a role when you are given the stage. If you don't have a stage, even backstage, you can't even play any kind of role. And I don't mind. I'm 85 years old now. So I don't have to force myself, I don't have to, I'm quite happy with the things I have been able to achieve in there. But I would like to see Akwa Ibom continue to soar again. And every other state in the Federation soaring as well alongside Akwa Ibom. Not just Akwa Ibom. Look, there's so much that this country is missing because of the nature of circumstances that we find ourselves now. And we need to change that. So I want to see Akwa Ibom with a vision, a purpose, and a determination to follow a route that will lead to the attainment of those things. And so I would like to see that seaport built as quickly as possible at Ibaka. I would like to see the science park re-established as soon as possible. I would like to see the University of Technology possibly brought back. I would like to see the power being distributed so that Akwa Ibom has 24-hour constant power. There's certain things I really must push to the present government and pray that they do. Even that solar water heater company, bring it back. Bring it back. The Nigeria is so large, you can never have too many of those facts, even though some have now come behind Akwa Ibom and manufacturing and selling. Re-establish all those things. Let us recognize the potentiality and potency of technology and embrace it. And you cannot do technology with generator. You have to have power.
Definitely. And finally, Your Excellency, I would like you to kindly speak about the current situation of the nation, looking at the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and some of the policies that he's put in place since coming into office, particularly the ones that have been talked about. We're looking at removal of fuel subsidy, and also looking at some at the current economic challenges that the country is facing.
The economic challenges are there, will continue to be there unless we change the economic parameters, which should be not sharing, but productivity. We have to begin to produce. We have to put a handle on these solid minerals as we've done on oil. And we have to stop these oil thefts. Look, sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. These small people that are small oil thefts here and there, they are not the people that are running the economy. The people are bringing ships into this country and loading the ships and taking it away. There's no way a big tanker can come in here and people who are watching don't tell me they didn't see. So somebody must be turning a blind eye or collaborating or whatever to allow the sort of massive theft that's going on. Apart from that, I read a report from one of the oil companies. They will drill a certain amount of oil. They pay to have a certain amount of oil drilled. But by the time it travels through a pipeline to the manifold or the way it's less than half. I don't know how it disappeared along the way because of sabotage and things like that. And so that's where people are living. Dunlop has left this country, even pharmaceutical bigs have left this country. So many people have left this country. Massive corruption, massive sabotage of the economy, unless we stop these things. So we are looking at the effect of fuel subsidy. Sometimes I wonder whether Labour has a thinking cap or whether they ever put it on. Labour are the people that were shouting, oh, this thing is a scam, this thing is a scam, this thing is a scam. Somebody removes it. Maybe the effect is now affecting us badly. Oh, yes, he shouldn't have removed it. You want to go on strike every day to bring it back. Admittedly, maybe not enough consideration. Somebody made an electoral promise. They felt he had to fulfill it without maybe sufficient, but it's too early to judge. I think we should accept the fact that fuel subsidy in itself was wrong, just as it is wrong for us to borrow money to pay salaries, just as it is wrong for us to put 90% of our money into recurrent expenditure. We have to correct several areas of the economy and stabilize the naira, make sure that things go as they ought to go, making sense. And then on top of that, we have to try and make sure that there is peace and there is no corruption.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency Obong Victor Attah, for joining us in this, let's say, extensive, very extensive, exclusive interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.